Happy Thursday evening. We are live. And we are having one of the conversations. Now, I know I say this all the time, but this conversation is literally going to be responsible for being able to give tools that are going to literally give you strategies that you can literally change where your life goes in 2023, because this is what created your last year and the year before that and the year before that. And when you start understanding that your life is perfectly designed to get the results that it's getting, then we have to start implementing different strategies if we want to have a different outcome. So this conversation is all about where decisions really come from. Now, think about this. Isn't that amazing? Texas, glad you're here. Glad you're here. So how many of you struggle with decisions? If you struggle making decisions and not feeling real confident behind that, say I, right? Because the reason this is happening, actually, there's a lot of reasons that happens, is so much of the decisions that we make are literally done from a place of automatic programs that were conditioned into us when we were infants. And if we've made some decisions that ended up creating some very unpleasant experiences for us as children, then that's going to impact our ability to make decisions as adults. Now, I want to just put this out there. I've said this many times if you've been on my shows, that 75% of what we access in our entire life was by the age of 5. Now, I want you to think about something. How many of you, I don't know, like for me, I wasn't the brightest bulb in the box, but I don't know how old I was. But just imagine how much of that did you not even understand what communication really was. Like, I want you to really think about that. So the reason I'm sharing that is because as a child, pretty much everything that we interpret is done through vibration, energy, and frequency, right? And this is why, like, pay attention to an animal. An animal can tell when you're sad. An animal can tell when you're happy, right? A child's going to feed off that same kind of energy. And so if you're observing your parents and your parents have made certain decisions that created certain outcomes, a child is not going to understand what is actually happening. They're going to interpret all of that information through their sensories, through their nervous system, right? And if dad made some decisions that he wasn't happy with, or mom reminds him of that, or vice versa, it doesn't matter. That child is going to be making decisions about what it means to make a decision. Okay. So I just want to put this out there for everybody to think about. This is why you make the decisions that you make. Every single decision that you've made in your life is based on this one thing and this one thing only. Okay. Now, it doesn't mean that it was good or bad. Okay. What if we just let go of that whole framework, right? That we are literally making the decisions that we make based on our programming. But this is what determines the decisions we make. It's what we truly value. It's what we truly value. Every decision we make literally is us clarifying what we truly value at a deep unconscious level. Okay. Case in point, you go to a grocery store hungry. Okay. And in that moment, you are going to value getting rid of the uncomfortable feeling more than you are going to have the discernment of not buying things that are more healthy, right? And so, right, if we are feeling lonely, we are going to make decisions about our relationship. If we have experiences in the past, this is really, really, really important. If we've had experiences in the past that have caused us pain, then that is what we are going to be accessing in the present moment. And if we had painful experiences from the past, and we are presented with something that is similar, we are going to make decisions to prevent us from re-experiencing something that happened in the past. Let me repeat that. Okay. So if we have experiences that have led us to feel, one of our biggest fears is to be humiliated, right? Like, that's just one of our biggest fears. And like, we've been conditioned to this at a very, very deep level through our educational system, through lots of different things, religion, like there's lots of things out there. By the way, if everybody could share this on TikTok, I would greatly appreciate it. It's so good to see everybody. I love you being here. Thank you so much. But what's important about this is that how many decisions have you made to prevent yourself from experiencing humiliation? Like, how many decisions have you made to prevent yourself from experiencing humiliation? Right? So you're literally making decisions based out of something that you've experienced in the past. And one of the things I see on social media, yeah, that's interesting, is these people talking about, and I get it. It's part of having awareness, right? And it is important. And with that said, I think it's very important for everybody to put things in context a lot more, because there's a lot of people out there that are social media psychiatrists now because they've watched a few TikTok videos on gaslighting, on being ghosted, on narcissism, on toxic abuse, and all that stuff. And again, I totally agree that it needs to be put out there, and we need to have the awareness of that, as long as it's put in context. As long as it's put in context. Because, so say for example, somebody is having something happen in their life, and they believe this is what they need to do, and somebody else has just been given information. This is called recency and primacy, by the way. They have just been given information about ghosting, right? Now, the person on the other side is withdrawn. Like, they could have something that's going on that literally feels like the world's being turned upside down, and that is what takes priority. That is what determines the decisions they make. Now, the person on the other side of it, if they decide to think that they're being ghosted or whatever, they're going to make decisions based on what they think is value. And if they're in self-preserve, good Lord, my tongue is like, let me pull on it for a minute, self-preservation mode, then they're going to make decisions based on that as well, right? So this is where I think it's really, really important for us all to really look at, what decisions have you made in your life that you really challenged you, put you in places that you didn't want to be? What are the things that have happened in your life that you have deep regret around, right? What are the decisions that you wish you would have made differently? But the reason I bring all this up is to understand you made the decisions based on the information that you had at that time. And see, what most people and friends understand, everything I'm telling you has been through my own experience, through my clients, through my students, I'm not here to tell you that I have this down by any stretch of the imagination. It is something that I work at all the time, is living a life that demands rigorous honesty, right? And sometimes that takes a little bit longer for things to land for me, because if I'm in an experience that is uncomfortable, right? Like, I'm going to pull back. I'm going to do things in a way that are going to be aligned with what I truly value. Now, in that doing, it might impact other people. So this is where I'll ask all of you a question and see who is actually, I know everybody's listening, but what determines how emotional you get about an experience, right? And see, the reason this is important, because think about what you access the easiest in your life. Like, what memories do you access the easiest in your life? Right? It's the ones that are the most emotionally charged. Like, you can remember your first kiss. You can remember your first heartbreak. You can remember when a pet died. You can remember something that you celebrated, like amazing. Like, they're all attached to the amount of emotion that you are experiencing at that time, right? But what is it that makes us so emotional about something? So it's a hugely important question, right? And see, all of these strategies run automatically. Like, we don't even, like, again, you've been on my shows, you know this, I say this many, many, many times. If we do not make our unconscious conscious, it will control our lives, and we will call it fate. Our unconscious is running our lives automatically, right? And it's going to operate through the filter of self-preservation, okay? So what determines how emotional we get about an experience is how associated we are to the experience, which also means how associated we are is how personally we take it, right? Like, and this is like, when people get offended, they don't realize it's one of the greatest opportunities for them to find out something about themselves that they had not otherwise been able to experience, right? And because I could sit here and say all day long that you're blue, right? But the reason you don't believe it is because you know it's not your truth. But if I said something about how you show up as a parent, how you show up as a friend, or something like that, and it triggers you, it's because it aligns with something that's already inside of you, right? And so this is where these are all the things that we make the decisions on, right? Like, our greatest desire, please hear me, my friends, when I say this, our greatest desire is also our greatest fear. Why? Because we have to let go of parts of us, and moving letting go of those parts of us is going to allow us to transcend into different vibrations that is going to feel very, very uncomfortable. Okay, so that is why our greatest desire is also our greatest fear. But see, this is what happens, and I just taught this on my class last night. We have expectation and we have desire, right? And the thing is usually they're not in harmony. Like, because we have this desire of, I want romance, I want relationship, I want security, I want money, I want travel, whatever it is, but our expectations are lower. So our expectation, the one that we are most committed to is the one that's going to take the most force, right? So again, what does this have to do with making decisions? It's because of what you value. And if you value hanging on to beliefs that you were conditioned to believe. So think about this. That's why I said this is one of my favorite conversations. Think about this. Our biggest fear is being separated from our tribe. Okay. Now, physically, geographically, but most of it is neurologically within inside of us, right? Like there are so many clients, and this, again, this is my journey, right? How many clients have been living their lives for their parents, right? And their parents have been passed away for decades, right? But they're still running the same neurological patterns to support and get the approval from their family, right? Well, if most primal fear is being separated from our tribe. If I am making decisions that my authority figures in my life did not agree with, that means that I am going to neurologically separate myself from them. And see, if then we get into this conversation of, what do I value most? Do I value transcending and stepping into the areas that are uncomfortable so that I can, I know it's bubblegum pink. What is bubblegum pink? I'm just curious. That is just an interesting statement. What is it that you truly value? Do you truly value going after your goals and making your dreams a reality, creating the relationship that you truly want? Or do you value the conditioning that you received as a child? Right. And again, this is super important to ask you the question, because and in the beginning, when you start having this awareness and you're stepping out there and recognize, what is it that I truly value, right? And this is where, like, this is one of the assessments I do with my clients is it's value elicitation. And when I do the elicitation with them, it is literally like, I warn them, like, you're going to feel like you're being turned inside out, because I go really, really, really deep to find out what it is that you truly value. But once you have that clarity of what it is that you truly value, now you have a filter system that's more aligned with what it is that you truly want to create. Again, this is why I recommend everybody, because I don't know if I should tell you this or not, but I'll tell you. Okay, don't tell anybody I told you this. In the ROI Accelerator Challenge, I literally show you how to elicit your values. Okay. Now, why is that important? Is because if we're not clear, like when I ask somebody what it is that they want, most of the time, and again, this was me until I started learning this stuff. When you ask somebody what they want, most of the time they're going to respond with what they don't want, right? And of course, your subconscious does not process things negative or positive, so it's just going to think, okay, cool, you want to lose weight? Well, that must mean you want weight, right? Excuse me, I want to be out of debt. Okay, therefore you want debt. So we keep creating the same thing that we don't want, because your subconscious does not distinguish whether it's positive or negative. Okay. So when the reason this is important to have the clarity is because it's in the confusion that your wounds step in, and that you're going to interpret things through your wounds. And I just have this wonderful privilege of, like, this has been my mission of literally teaching people how to let go of guilt and shame, because so many decisions we make are to avoid experiencing the humiliation that created us to feel shame. That's the decisions we make. We make decisions to avoid experiencing uncomfortableness, right? So when you are making a decision, ask yourself this question: what is it that I truly value? What is it truly that I am valued? What is it that I'm truly committed to? Because what you are truly committed to is also going to reveal, like, I know this is challenging stuff. I get it. Is when looking at your life and looking at all the decisions you've made, and taking wrong, right, good, bad, taking all that out of that filter, and just looking at what was I truly valuing when I made this decision. What was I truly valuing? And see, the other part of all this is what's really, really important, is understanding how well do you take feedback? How well do you take feedback? Because so many people, because they've had feedback experiences where somebody in a toxic manner, in a hostile manner, gave them feedback, they have associated getting feedback with, again, being humiliated. Okay? And so if you can have somebody give you authentic feedback and be able to share where they truly are, then it opens up a space to create something more intimate, more connected, more trusting, right? But it takes time. And I promise you, I promise you, some of you know me on here, patience has been my greatest opportunity, right? Because yeah, that's a whole other conversation. Okay. But looking back over your life, because if you don't look at the strategies, the neurological strategies, and I keep saying the neurological strategies because these are your automatic programs that you have within yourself. What was it that I valued when I made those decisions? Because so many people don't understand the strategies that they used when they created the decisions that they did, and they end up carrying that with them. They carry this regret with them, and this is where we've all heard the straw that broke the camel's back, right? But you think about that. The blade of straw, the one blade of straw that broke that camel's back. So how much straw would that camel have to be carrying that one more additional blade of straw would break its back? A lot, right? But see, what we do is we operate in life and we're about 5 or 6 blades of straw short of having it break in our back. And we don't understand how much energy we're burning up because of all the past that we are carrying. Okay. So this is really important for us to ask these questions, because if we don't ask ourselves these questions, we're going to keep repeating this, right? Because our higher self, our God self, our divine self, whatever you want to call it, is always going to do what it can to support us stepping into our fullest potential. And if we're not getting the lessons, they are going to keep repeating until we learn the lesson and transcend it. I promise you. Like, I've had many, many lessons repeated, and see that. And then again, this is why it's important. If you look at the 6 domains of your life: relationship, family, career, personal development, health, and spirituality. Those are the 6 domains that I deal with. Other people have more, but this is what's for me, right? Yeah, so I get some questions. I'll get to your questions in a moment. Is understanding that if I don't have clarity in what these are and what's important to me, then I'm going to be easily influenced by somebody else, right? And the reason this is also important is because if I am making decisions out of scarcity or out of desperation or out of lack, I am setting something into motion that is later going to break down. Okay. And this is not, what's the difference? Okay. So you've asked me if I'm a Christian. I'm going to ask you a question. What's important to you about that? Okay. Because this is a filtering system that you're using, right? And the other part of it, or a new age guy, right? I'm asking the question for you of what is inspiring that, because see, just to put it out there, Satan is very, very, very familiar with the Bible. Okay. So my question for you is to ask you this in a way that supports you in whether you decide to take this information on or not. I would encourage you not to. Like, I just wouldn't. Like, don't believe a thing I'm saying, right? Just run it through your own experience and see how it lands for you. Right? Like, this is what's worked for me and lots and lots and lots of my students, right? So, because this is what you value, and that is what you are making decisions off based on. There's no judgment in what I'm saying. Please do not hear that. I'm offering this to you in a way to get you to look beyond. See, friends, it's not what to believe. It's not what to believe. It's how to believe. It is how to believe. We can never, ever raise consciousness looking through the eyes of duality, which means you're either in or you're out. And if you're out, then I'm going to value the fact that I'm in. And because you're out, you have nothing to offer me, which is separation, which who loves playing in that domain? That would be the adversary, darkness, right? Like, if we can split them, we can divide them, right? And so I just offer that to you, my friend, to think about how that supports your filtering system, right? because yeah, that question that you asking me is huge. And I'm going to offer you the opportunity to not, and we all do this. Again, this is not about you. This is an opportunity to coach people and also reveal some things within ourselves of how we deny incredible opportunities because of our filtering system. And our filtering system is based off what we truly value. Okay. And this is also part of our conditioning. And so we have been indoctrinated with duality. We've been indoctrinated. You're either blue or you're red. You're either Muslim, Christian, whatever, right? And all this does is it creates ways to separate us. Okay. Now, again, there's a reason that I'm not asking your question intentionally, because I just want to ask you to think about what's important to you about that, right? Because to me, God can speak to us in profound ways, but we miss them because of how we filter the information. Okay. And so we all do it. We all do it. Like, I'll tell you, one of the biggest breakthroughs I've ever had in my life, one of the biggest breakthroughs in my life, and one of the awarenesses that just landed with me is like, God said, oh, here, check this one out. And I was like, whoa, that's profound. And it was me recognizing what percentage of my life I have spent living my life to protect myself from getting hurt. That's not living, my friends. That is not living. Right. And so once I started understanding that, it's like, okay, cool. What is it that keeps me like taking my guard down, letting down my walls and putting my heart out there and being willing to go through the things? Because what is our life? What is our life? Our life is a tapestry of experiences, right? What determines the richness of these experiences is the emotion that we get to experience going through them, right? And so, like, some of the most painful things I have gone through have literally become the greatest blessings I've ever had in my life. Like, and some of them have taken decades for me to really get in touch with the impact. Like, and we've all have our own journeys. And I say that very respectfully to everybody that's on here, right? One of the hardest things that I had, and it took years and it took decades for me to really get to understand this. When I woke up in the hospital, and they told me that my sister was across the street fighting for her life as the result of a car accident that I caused when I was drunk. Right? So you have something like that in a nanosecond, you start recognizing what you truly value. Because before that car accident happened, I didn't want to live to be 25 years of age, which reflected in the way I lived my life. Right? So understanding every decision someone is making is really reflecting what it is that they truly value. Okay. So doesn't mean that you have to agree with it, right? To me, I think the greatest thing it's interesting. I really do I know they are listening. They are listening because I'll have these conversations and then I'll get on TikTok or wherever else. And all the stuff that I talked about starts showing up on my timeline, and different people are teaching it. Yes, absolutely. Vulnerability is a blessing, but this is what's important about this. And I'll say not, but this is what's really, really, really important about our vulnerability is, are we coming from a place of woundedness, deep woundedness, and being vulnerable in a way that gives someone else the power to hurt us again? Or are we coming from a place of vulnerability and is it in a space that allows me to transcend what it is that I'm putting out there? Okay. Because there are times that we literally suffer because it aligns with the narrative or a strategy that we developed as a child. And I promise you, I got many, many, many stories that I can talk about this, right? So what I mean by that is we will literally attract people in our lives that reflect what we experienced as a child. So let me give you a case in point. We are electromagnetic beings, right? So my thoughts are the electrical parts, my emotions are the magnetic part, right? And so we will project vibrations out there that attract situations into our life that give us the opportunity to transcend what it is that wants to be healed, okay? So I have seen people that have, and talking about vulnerability as power, absolutely 100% agree that vulnerability is our superpower, right? and being able to do it in a way with some discernment, some wisdom, with some guidance. Because I have seen people get out there and share their soul to an environment that was in no way prepared to receive what they received, and they absolutely shut down, or lots of other things came up, right? And then that person ended up validating their narrative about what it means to not share their story, right? Because they experienced something that was very, very unpleasant. The reason most people don't be vulnerable is because of stuff that humiliated them in the past. Well, if you share something, you share a vulnerability into an environment that's not conducive to supporting that, then it can literally ricochet back on you. And now you can confirm the story, like being vulnerable means I'm going to be humiliated again. Okay. So I want to really, really hold space for what you said, but also with the vulnerability is anytime what we are not talking about owns us. What we are not talking about gives darkness the opportunity to keep us in lower vibrations. Okay. So just case in point. And of course, if there's anything that I can do to support anybody, please, by all means, let me know, and I'll be happy to do what I can to support you. So somebody put on, wait outside, I have lost myself and see truly what is valuable, the life. Yes, 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 yes. Yeah. And see, the other thing that's important, friends, to understand about this thing about values. If you are going against your values, and most of your values are unconscious, if you are going against them, you are literally going to feel like you're being turned inside out. Okay, so this is where the more in tune you are with your inner world, the more ability you are going to know. Because discernment, to me, discernment is our own truth. It doesn't mean it's truth, it means it's our truth, right? Because, and the reason I say that is there's people out there that declares this is truth, and not putting into context that every single person, like if you did that, say it was a book, okay? I got this book, boom, got this book, this is truth. And I put it into a room of 1,000 people, every single person in that room is going to have a different interpretation of it. So then what's truth? So what's truth, right? So this is really important to understand that when we are uncomfortable, there's a reason. When we are suffering, there's a reason. Right? When we have pain and we have fear and we have these different things that come up, there's a reason, right? And people that decide, and it's a choice without a doubt, well, there's a lot of things that could go into that recipe as well. But when we decide to be self-evolving people, that means part of the responsibility that goes along with that is we are going to press into the storm. We are going to press into the challenge because we understand if we resist this, it is going to keep showing up in our lives. Right? So we've really got to think about, what am I avoiding here? And then again, asking, here's what I'm going to tell you right here. This is literally, people have paid me thousands and thousands of dollars to teach you what I'm going to teach you right now in this moment. Okay. When you have something come up inside of you that is uncomfortable, okay, I want you to ask yourself this question. What is it that I value? And then ask the next question, what am I really committed to? And see, if you have gotten clear about what you truly desire and you have made a commitment that this is what I want to create, because no matter what it is that we desire, it's something outside of us, so that we have to be a different version of who we are if we are going to manifest this and create this, right? So ask yourself the question, what is it I truly value? And it's amazing how many people just value being right, because they haven't learned how to be wrong. See, the greatest disjustice that I see going on right now, and there's lots of things around it, and it's probably going to trigger some of you, and I'm just warning you, but don't shoot the messenger. Can we all just agree not to hate Jeff about what I'm about to say? Can we just all agree that, right? But it's really what's happening. It is what's happening. Doing that all participation, everybody gets a participation trophy is devastating. Now, I get the intention of what was behind it, totally align with that. I can totally align with that, right? Because it's bullies and all that stuff. Totally agree with that, right? Yes. If we don't teach people how to lose, what is that setting up? Like, what's going to happen when that person's love of their life rejects them? They're not going to know how to lose. The greatest ability that we can ever develop is learning how to master disappointment, is learning how to master losing. Doesn't mean that we get to be a loser, but having that pushback that says there's something greater in you. There's something greater in you. And it might not be this very thing, but there's something greater in you, right? And I get competition is a masculine thing, but there's toxic competition as well, right? I love competition. And the part that I love about competition is me showing up the best version that I can be and pulling out the greatness in that person that I'm competing with as well. It is a camaraderie. It is an opportunity for both of us to bring forth our greatness, right? Do I like losing? No, don't like, not a big fan of it. But I understand that the reason I'm losing is because there's something that I'm missing. There's something in me that gets to be called forward, right? But there's so many things, decisions that are being made because people don't want to deal with the wounding. They don't want to deal with the wounding. And the wounding is the opportunity to really bring out the greatness in people, right? What we resist is going to persist, right? Yes, we have to use compassion. We have to use understanding. We have to use love and acceptance and all that, without a doubt. Absolutely. And we have to teach people how to dig inside themselves and pull out the things that the opportunity is teaching them. We have to, right? So that's my rant. That's my rant. But again, asking yourself the question, what do I truly value? If you value comfort, I'm just going to tell you, friend, you're going to have an interesting life. Life was not meant to be comfortable, because the comfort zone, like, this is why I love the movie WALL-E. I absolutely love that movie, right? You go to Utopia. Did I write a book? Yes, I did write a book, and I didn't bring it in here. It's the map to your fullest potential. It's the map to your fullest potential. Yes, I wrote a book on that. And I got another one coming out here real soon. But I want to ask, like, go watch the movie WALL-E, and in WALL-E, it shows that what it means to live a life without resistance. Like, they've done biosphere experiments where they grew the created the most optimum biosphere for all plants, trees, all that stuff. And then the trees started falling over. And they're like, this makes no sense. This makes no sense. Why are these trees falling over? Like, everything's beautiful. Everything's thriving. Why are our trees falling over? Because they didn't understand how a tree really grows. The reason the trees were falling over is because the root system had not went down deep enough, so that when the wind comes, there was no wind in the biosphere. When the wind comes, that tree has to dig its root system, grow its root system down stronger and stronger down into the ground, so that the wind doesn't blow it over. Okay? Resistance is a part of life. It is a part of life. And so being vulnerable, like being intimate with somebody and sharing something like, what is it that you truly want? What is it that you truly are feeling? What is it that you're truly afraid of? Like, all of these things are part of that vulnerability. That's much different than saying, nobody loves me, nobody cares, and blah, 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 all that stuff, right? That's why I'm saying, are you operating from your wound or you're from your power? What is it that you truly value? And what is it that you're truly committed to, right? The map to your fullest potential. Yes, thank you. I value and study realness, and people put the truth is unsettling. Well, for sure. And there's also levels of comprehension, right? Like, there's levels of comprehension when you are dealing with people, because if you share something with somebody that is beyond their comprehension or beyond their level of comfort, they're going to reject it. And even, like, here's a personal example for me. When they come in and told me that my sister was across the street fighting for her life as a result of a car accident that I did, like, my brain did, like, that just bounced off me like water off a duck's back. Like, how in the world do you hold space for that? And it took me a long time for me to even understand the amount of shock that put me into. Right? So if you have invested your whole life into something, and this is where I say it, and I totally appreciate what you're sharing, and there's absolute truth in that, right? Everybody's on a journey. Everybody is on a journey. And see, that it's not people that fight, it is levels of understanding that fight. Right? And that's a whole other conversation. Go buy my course, The Potential Code, right? Like, I go into great detail over that. But the other thing is, go sign up for the ROI Accelerator Challenge, roiacceleratorchallenge.com. I'm going to be doing it again, I believe, in February. Right now, get on the waiting list, because you don't want to miss this. Like, this is the best work that I put out there. So somebody said, I learned that by the hard way, lose a lot last year, and welcome. And welcome to me. A few months later, I received more than that. Be ready for God's blessing. Yeah. And see, even our relationship with God, is a reflection of our filtering system, right? And there's all kinds of stuff that I can do to show you in that. And it's, again, it's not, but see, if I have invested everything into, say my dad believes something. My dad believes lots of things, right? And wow, that just brought up some memories. About a Trans Am. Like, I had a 79 Trans or 78 Trans Am. My dad bought the first Trans Am made, 69 Trans Am. I thought, well, if I get me a Trans Am, then my dad's going to love me the way I hope that my dad would love me, right? Well, come to find out, it didn't work, right? But see, it's not what to believe, it's how to believe, right? And what creates our beliefs is authority. Excuse me. Number one is authority, intensity, and repetition. That's what creates our beliefs, right? And our morals are conditioned in us, right? Case in point. Now, some of you might believe differently. And again, I'm just asking you to consider it and think about it a little bit differently. Our morals are conditioned, right? And here's case in point. There are people that believe it's honorable and moral to run an airplane into an aircraft carrier. That's conditioned, right? So all of this stuff is conditioned inside of us. And this is where I'm asking people to look at being a lot more flexible with how they believe about things, because people will literally kill for what they believe, and they've never even questioned, where did these beliefs come from, right? Like this, welcome to war, right? Welcome to the breakdown and everything, right? Is that people are operating automatically out of what they believe, and they never took a moment and went, why do I believe this? Why do I believe this? But again, this shows what we value, right? This is what we're going to, but see, the thing, this is, and I'll leave with this. This is what's important. Our beliefs literally hang on to what we value. Okay. So let me give you a case in point. So let's say somebody that was, had an eating disorder, right? And they were obese. Okay. They have certain beliefs about their diet. They have certain beliefs about their exercise. They have certain beliefs about how they see themselves and how they show up and all this stuff, right? And it's a reflection of them not valuing themselves. Well, then one day they have a heart attack. All of a sudden they need a 5 bypass surgery to save them because everything's plugged up and they got to change their life or they're going to die. That changes what they value. Now that changes what they value, and now they change the value of their life. Just like me having my car accident changed what I valued. If it would have been me in that car, I wouldn't be here today. But the fact that I almost ended my sister's life changed how I seen stuff. God was brilliant in how that got set up, right? But looking at this is that when we kiss death's door, like, pain is a great catalyst. It's a great motivator. Then my beliefs will go along with what I value. So once you kiss death's door, well, okay, my belief about me valuing myself is going to change a lot. How I treat myself. I'm going to quit drinking. I'm going to quit drugging. I'm going to quit doing all the things that I've done that created that situation, right? So just understanding that what you value is going to determine what you believe, okay? And if you value being accepted or wanting something that you've never had with a parent, you're going to make a lot of decisions based on those beliefs, hoping to get the love that you didn't get as a child. And it can be very, very, very painful. So I appreciate everybody being here. This conversation went twice as long as I usually go, but that's because I've had great questions and great friends here supporting it. And I appreciate that so very much. Everybody on here, you all see me on Facebook and stuff like that. If you could put down there a replay or live, you watch this replay or live, I'd really appreciate that as well. Everybody have an amazing, amazing evening. It's so good to see everybody. I love and appreciate each and every one of you. And I will see you next week. And until then, my friends, as always, live like your life depends on it, because it does. And I wish you the best because you deserve the best. And if there's anything that I can do to support your journey, please let me know. And if you haven't signed up for the ROI Accelerator Challenge, please do so. You will be glad you did. It will be the best investment you have ever made in your life. I promise you. I guarantee it. Okay? Everybody have a great night. Peace.